The Golden State Warriors have a lot to look forward to going into the offseason. They have a lot of nice young players on the roster that have made tremendous strides in the last 2 years. They will finally get their other All-Star Klay Thompson back after 2 years, and they could have 2 lottery picks this season if the Timberwolves pick falls outside the top 3. I believe one thing is clear about the Warriors. They are no longer light years ahead of everybody. That's what the Warriors owner Joe Lacob had said back in 2016 when the team was on their way to an NBA record 73 wins. But 5 years later, this is a different league. There is so much more talent in the league, and the teams are built so much better. As it stands today, even if Klay Thompson comes back and plays like his old self, the Warriors won't be able to dominate like they did before. If the Warriors want to be a true contender for the championship, just adding Klay back won't be enough. Just think how great Steph Curry played this season. In the season in which he turned 33 years old, this guy averaged 32 points per game, joining only Michael Jordan as players to lead the league in scoring at such an advanced age. For the month of April, Curry averaged 37 points per game and became the 3rd player in the last 30 years with at least 13 games of at least 30 points in a full month, and also the first to average at least 35 points in a full month, while also shooting at least 50% from the field, 40% from 3, and 90% from the free throw line. Curry did all that, and the Warriors still missed the playoffs. That's just clear evidence that the Warriors are not just a Klay Thompson addition away from a championship. The Utah Jazz are thriving. The Phoenix Suns are a juggernaut. The Lakers and the Clippers are still a threat, and you also have Luka Doncic and the Mavericks. It won't be easy for the Warriors to reclaim their position at the top of the Western Conference. They need more talent. They need more veteran players. The Warriors were known for having good veteran players with a high basketball IQ around their 3 stars. Players like Andre Iguodala, Sean Livingston, Andrew Bogut, and even Jarrett Jack. Players that could think the game, and more importantly, wouldn't buckle under the pressure. Players who were not afraid of the moment. That's what I believe the Warriors are missing. I don't believe it's realistic for this team to add 2 lottery picks and expect a huge jump back to the top of the NBA. It doesn't work that way. I believe the Warriors need to be very active in trying to trade some of these draft picks and a couple young players to get an established star player. One of those young players is their 2nd overall pick from last year, James Wiseman. There is no doubt that Wiseman has talent and could be a nice player in the future, but he has a long way to go before he's able to be a consistent, impactful player in the NBA. And I don't believe it's a guarantee that he will actually put it all together. We see flashes from him and think about what he could become, but there's also plenty of moments where he looks lost on the court and doesn't really deserve to be in the rotation. The Warriors can't afford to wait 3 or 4 years for Wiseman to become that guy. By that time, Steph, Klay, and Draymond will be getting ready for retirement. Steph Curry is the franchise player, and he's still a superstar. And this past season proved that he can still dominate for at least 3 or 4 years. Now it's time for the Warriors to put the best pieces around him to maximize their chances to win a championship. That's what it's all about. Championships. Not young talent that may or may not develop in a few years. It's about that ring. The Lakers traded Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, and draft picks for Anthony Davis, and they ultimately got a championship out of it. Even if the Lakers only win that 1 championship with LeBron and AD, it will be still worth it, without a doubt. Winning a championship is the #1 goal, and it always will be. The 2 priorities for the Warriors going into the offseason is signing Steph Curry to an extension and giving him more help. Curry becomes eligible this offseason to sign a 4-year Supermax contract extension worth around $215 million, which could keep him in a Warriors uniform until 2026, when he will be 38 years old. Like I said earlier, the Warriors could have 2 lottery picks this upcoming NBA draft. The best case scenario for the Warriors is for the Timberwolves pick to land at the number 4 spot or the number 5 spot. The top 5 prospects in this draft separate themselves from the rest of the pack for the most part. So if you have a top 5 pick in this draft, you will have a high value asset that you can use to possibly land a star player. The Warriors' best assets are James Wiseman, the Minnesota Timberwolves pick, future first round picks, and a young player like Jordan Poole. And if they end up trading for a star player, more than likely they will have to use Andrew Wiggins and his contract to make the trade work. I have 4 players that I believe the Warriors need to be aggressive and try to trade for this offseason. The first one is obvious, Bradley Beal. He's been the #1 target for a lot of teams for at least the last 2 years. If the Wizards were really honest with themselves, they would admit that Westbrook and Beal, with a bunch of very young players around them, are not going to get very far in the playoffs. I actually don't believe they could get out of the first round. Why not receive a young and talented big man like Wiseman and possibly a top 5 pick this year, which could result in a prospect like Jonathan Kuminga or Jalen Suggs? Bradley Beal is a perennial all-star, an established veteran player who has played a couple of playoff games. A trio of Curry, Thompson, and Beal would definitely elevate the Warriors to a Western Conference powerhouse. The second player they should go after will be Paul George. If the LA Clippers fail to get to a conference finals once again, I believe there's a great chance that Kawhi Leonard could opt out and sign with another team this offseason. The Clippers signed Paul George last December to an extension that guarantees him as much as $226 million over the next 5 years. And you understand why they did that, because of all the first-round picks they gave up to trade for him, and they also gave up a young player like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. So if the Clippers lose Kawhi in free agency, why wouldn't the Clippers just trade Paul George and try to recoup some of the assets they gave up to get him? I know PG has been the butt of a lot of jokes on social media, but there's no doubt he's still an all-star caliber player who can get buckets and play great defense. Playing with great players in a great system has always elevated players to play better and play more consistent. I feel that Andrew Wiggins had his most impactful year of his career. He benefited from playing alongside a superstar like Steph Curry and a great leader like Draymond Green. Paul George could take the pressure off Klay Thompson as he comes back from more than 2 years off the court. My number 3 player is the Boston Celtics young star, Jaylen Brown. I know this seems a little far-fetched because you would think a player like Jaylen Brown would be untouchable for the Celtics. He had a career year this season and made the All-Star team for the first time. But the Celtics were probably one of the most disappointing teams in the league. And with the makeup of their team and the contracts they have, there's really not that many ways they can improve the roster significantly. Nobody wants Kemba Walker in his huge contract. Walker is a shell of his former self, and at this point, he's injury prone. You never know what you're going to get from him on a night-to-night basis. If the Celtics bring the same core back next season, what's really going to change? Maybe the Warriors can convince the Celtics to trade their young all-star and take a step back. Now, for the Warriors to have a chance to get Jaylen Brown, they will have to give up a ton of assets. And the last player on my list may be a surprise to most fans. This player was actually drafted in the same year as James Wiseman, and that's Kings guard Tyrese Haliburton. Now, I know I said the Warriors need to get more veteran players around their core, but Haliburton plays well beyond his age. His basketball IQ is on the same level of players like Steph, Klay, and Draymond. The 21-year-old plays like someone who's been playing pro for at least 5 or 6 years. He might not ever be a superstar type of player, but he can have a great impact on the championship team. Even though he has some sort of a funky shot release, he is still a knockdown shooter from distance, as he shot around 41% from three-point range as a rookie. Along with his outside shooting, he's an excellent playmaker and has potential to be a great defensive player. His game has a certain level of maturity to it that you don't often see in 21-year-olds. Inserting a player like Haliburton into the Warriors lineup will be seamless. With Haliburton's outside shooting, IQ, and passing, the Warriors' offense will be taken to another level. I would definitely try to trade for players like PG, Bradley Beal, and Jaylen Brown before a young player like Haliburton, but I believe Haliburton will be a great addition to the Warriors. I know a lot of fans will ask the question of, why would the Sacramento Kings trade a player that finished top 3 for the Rookie of the Year award? Maybe the Kings feel that a prototypical big man like Wiseman will be a better fit long-term with a player like De'Aaron Fox. Wiseman has a higher ceiling than Haliburton, and that could entice the Kings to make this move. Regardless, the Warriors need to make something happen this offseason. If they believe that just adding Klay Thompson will get them back to the top of the Western Conference, then they could be in for a rude awakening. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, do it right now for future NBA content.